Oh, friends, we are in November. We're in the week of Thanksgiving, right? My kid is not going to school tomorrow because he gets the whole week off. And I will tell you, he is very grateful for that. He is very appreciative to have that extended time off from school. Some of you may have folks in your families who are in that similar space. Some of you may have kids who live in different places who don't get the whole week off. And they're maybe a little grumbly if they get to hear somebody else gets the full week off. But this is that week, if not the entire month, where we are invited, we are encouraged, we are sometimes even pushed, almost forced to be grateful, right? To be thankful. It's in the name of the holiday, Thanksgiving. Some of you may be gathering around tables with folks on Thursday, or maybe the day before, or the day after, or the Sunday that follows, whatever it may be. And you may be invited to go around and say what you're thankful for this year. And sometimes that can get old. It can feel tiresome, right? Like, okay, again, I have to say, what am I thankful for? Perhaps if we rephrase that, we reframe it and think we get to share what it is we are thankful for. And it might seem like an odd text to choose for this day, to choose to talk about Thanksgiving. This story that some of us have known since we were children, some of us sang to when we were kids, perhaps. So it will always be Zacchaeus, even if maybe it's supposed to be pronounced Zacchaeus. I don't know. But Zacchaeus, this story of seeking out Jesus, wanting to see who this being, who this person was, whom he had heard about, so much about. That he engaged in the undignified action of running and climbing a tree, a grown man, a tax collector, a chief tax collector, climbing this tree to see Jesus. So remind you that being a chief tax collector did not make you a very popular person in this time, right? It meant that you were collaborating with the imperial authorities. That means you were working with Rome to get taxes from people. And probably you would take a little bit extra because you need to be paid for the work you were doing on Rome's behalf. So he was not a popular guy. He was probably not a well-liked guy. He probably wasn't being invited to a bunch of friendsgivings. He may have had a friend or two, maybe. But he seeks Jesus out, and Jesus, walking by with all of these crowds, as the story goes, calls attention to him. Hey, Zacchaeus, come down. I'm going to your house today. That's huge. What a privilege to be able to host this one that everyone is talking about. He's coming to Jesus' house. And how does he respond? He opens the doors. He doesn't only welcome Jesus in, but he responds with vast generosity. He says, I'm going to give away half of all that I have. Half of it. And, tax collector that I am, if I have defrauded anyone, if I have taken more than I was to, I will pay it back fourfold. 4 times. That's 400% of what I defrauded them. What indeed could inspire such action, such generosity? Jesus didn't go to his house and say, Zacchaeus, I think you should rethink your occupation, your line of work. You need to change and start doing things different. You need to give this money away. You need to start following in this way that I am proclaiming. All he did was acknowledged the value of this person who had been pushed to the side, who had been overlooked, who had been deemed a villain, maybe rightly so, but Jesus acknowledged his humanity, perceived and spoke his belovedness, and went to dine with him. He didn't just say, hey, Zacchaeus, you're a good guy, don't worry about it. He went and he shared a meal with him. Well, I imagine he shared a meal. He went over to his house. He was going to be hosted there, so I can only imagine Zacchaeus put a nice spread out. And that's what got the people grumbling, right? He eats with sinners. He hangs out with these kinds of people. Jesus could have told them that he needed to give it out of obligation, out of duty. But he didn't do that. And I don't think Zacchaeus gave half of his possessions and was offering to pay anyone he had defrauded 4 times the amount because he wanted Jesus to come up to him and say, nice work, Zacchaeus. He wasn't doing it to earn a spot at a banquet table or a plaque on a wall somewhere or even to get a nice shiny certificate. I think Zacchaeus engaged in this act out of gratitude. He so appreciated Jesus displaying, making clear that he too was a beloved one of God. He too deserved to have friends, deserved to be loved, deserved to be in community with others. Did he do some things that may have harmed folks? Yeah, he did. And we do. But Jesus didn't come and start harping on him either. He honored him and his humanity. He showed him that he mattered, that he was of value, and that he was loved. And Zacchaeus didn't keep that to himself. He responded with tremendous gratitude. Friends, we are indeed invited, and we're encouraged by folks all over the place to live lives of gratitude, to have an attitude of gratitude, right? Because it's good for us. We've heard, we've been taught, they've done studies that it's good for you to be grateful, to appreciate life, to appreciate the things in your life. It makes you happier. You're a happier human if you live out gratitude. You have less depression. Depression decreases if you live out gratitude. Your general overall sense of well-being is greater. So you could certainly be grateful and seek to follow or foster an attitude of appreciation and gratitude simply for yourself. But this wasn't always the way that gratitude was viewed. Gratitude, as we see here in this story about Zacchaeus, inspires generosity. It promotes continued goodness. I can only imagine from the story Danielle was sharing, right, about these children who were experiencing this gift of music, this gift of artistic expression, this gift of being seen. The viola player, right? The great smile that came across that child's face. What they then went on to do, how they showed their gratitude with that smile, certainly, but then what was the next act? Studies have been done, friends, to show people experiencing, even just writing stories, sharing, thinking about something that they were grateful for. An impactful moment of gratitude, and then another group wrote about and thought about an impactful moment of happiness. And those who talked about, who thought about, who wrote about gratitude were much more likely to go on and share it, to engage in acts of generosity. It's the domino effect here. When someone offers generosity to me and I acknowledge that and respond with generosity as well out of gratitude, then perhaps the next person can only imagine what the folks who are going to eat this food, the gratitude they may experience, and then what will they do with that? How might that spur and inspire another moment, another act of generosity that will then inspire gratitude, that will then inspire generosity, that will then inspire gratitude, that will then inspire generosity over and over and over, friends. Friends, we are indeed invited to perceive, to acknowledge the great gifts we encounter in this world, right? Over and over we talk about how this is a gift of God, from God, how there are so many in our lives who offer us gifts. Number one, I would say, tell them. If somebody has inspired you, has engaged in an act that you are grateful for, that you are thankful for, tell them. Tell them how they have impacted you. That's a gift in return to them. Because then they can realize, they acknowledge, what I do matters. The efforts I am putting out here to make the world better, to make the world more joyful, more beautiful, it's doing something. And perhaps will inspire further generosity. And pass it on. Pay it forward. Be Zacchaeus in this moment. Friends, let us consider the great abundance that is here with us. And I'm not saying that there's not hurt, that there's not harm, that there's not suffering in our lives. Sometimes acknowledging that helps us to honor and to appreciate, to value more fully the beauty that is in our life, the gifts that are there because we do have challenges and hardships. We see them in a different light. We acknowledge them differently. The good, the beautiful. So let us attend to that. Let us acknowledge, let us receive that, and let us express. Let us put forward more good out of our gratitude. We have been engaging in a season of appreciation, right? Like our word for the year, friends, as a congregation, is appreciation. That was what our star gift was at Epiphany, at the very beginning of this calendar year, appreciation. So you have been invited, and you continue to be invited, to share, what do you appreciate about First United? That's one space that hopefully you appreciate. And I can see, I acknowledge, I receive you all showing up here, you all being in this space, taking this time, is a show of gratitude. That's generosity. You're sharing your time with this community. Thank you for that. And I invite you to consider, where might that go next? And consider how your appreciation of your First United family might continue to inspire gratitude and generosity within your First United family as well. We have a wall now, part of a wall, of appreciation outside of the church office. It has all these little cards hanging, some of them that you all put up, that you all filled out a couple of weeks ago. If you want to keep filling them out, you are welcome to. We have some more at the entrances to the sanctuary. If you're on Zoom, put them out to Kyle. We'll get them written up and we'll get them put up. Gratitude, appreciation is not something we are meant to keep inside us. It is something we are invited and called and encouraged to share. We almost can't help but to share it. That kid could not help but to beam when he saw the viola playing, when he heard that. Friends, I invite you into that moment, into that space. I encourage and going to engage on this journey with you to cultivate generosity further. There are so many gifts out there. How are we perceiving them? And if you need a little help with that, there's actually a gathering of the Bloomington Multi-Faith Alliance. We gather every year, right around Thanksgiving, of course. But this year we're going to have a guest speaker, Joel Wong, who is a professor at IU, a gratitude professor at IU. And he's going to speak about the fundamentals of gratitude, cultivating gratitude, on December 2nd at 5:45 at the Islamic Center, just down the road here. I'll get it into your announcements. I just found out about it at the end of this week, so it didn't make it into this one. You can also read his stuff online. If you're interested, let me know. But friends, the time is here. It's Thanksgiving. Let us perhaps not view this as a week where we have to give thanks, but as Professor Wong invites us to change those words from I have to I get to. I get to share what I am thankful about this week. So that's it. That's some of what I've been considering as I've been thinking about where we are in this moment in our stewardship time, where we are in this month in our country, where we are with our harvest in gathering. This is some of where I am and where I see some of the connections between gratitude and generosity. But I invite you, friends, now to consider how it is that the Spirit is moving within you and among you. The gifts that are here, what are you being invited to acknowledge and perceive? And how are you being invited to respond with gratitude and appreciation generously? I invite you to be together now for a moment of reflection, to open yourselves to the divine that is right here with us. Friends, let us be together now for a moment of pause.